Hey gang, I'm here with Jeffkus to talk about the announced Helldivers 2 Warhammer 40k Warbond. Now, I used to play a lot of Helldivers 2 when it came out, but now I'm mainly on Space Marine 2, and I've heard all of the drama from Helldivers, and it's kind of put me off from ever going back. So Helldivers is an insanely popular game, and along with the Warhammer IP, it sounds like a really nice stew of banger content. And since Skulls, I've heard the many opinions from both sides, both good and bad, and some ideas on what is in the Warbond. To knock that nail on the head, I've seen a lot of people saying that it will be Tempestus Scions because of what they're painting in the trailer. Now, I'm not an Astra Militarum person, so I could be wrong, but I couldn't see the Scions armor on those minis, plus looking at the posing, it does look more like the Kazakin kill team. This would still make sense to be added to Helldivers 2, as the Kazakin are the elite of the Imperial Guard. They normally have high-powered, high-shot lasguns and thick carapace armor to protect them from the most dangerous kill zones, which sounds very Helldivey to me. I've squinted and zoomed on every mini we can see in that trailer, and I'm fairly confident they are Kazakin, not Scions. So Jeff, I'm tentatively excited for this crossover. I hope it means the addition of las rifles and more plasma-based weaponry, but I have a feeling it's going to be more purely cosmetic without adding anything to the gameplay type Warbond. Normally when they announce new Warbonds, they tell you what they will have in them, but with the legendary ones, they do an announcement trailer first, and then do another trailer to show what's inside of the Warbond.
I'm typically pretty excited for, anything and everything related to Warhammer 40k as well, but kind of understanding what Helldivers 2 needs at the moment, I feel like this was kind of a tone-deaf announcement, where it's like, hey guys, here are a couple new cosmetics, we're not actually going to address any of the balance issues that the game is facing, and we're not going to add any meaningful content to the game outside of what you're already experiencing in your normal everyday gameplay loop. Here are some skins, give us your money, goodbye. It seems extremely tone deaf.
Yeah, and considering that the game needs a lot of other work as well, there has been complaints forever on Helldivers about everything being buggy and unbalanced, like you said. And then most recently, in March, there was this massive drama of this Helldiver 2 player that challenged Arrowhead devs on Reddit to full clear 3 missions on a planet at the maximum difficulty for an $1,000 donation to a charity of their choice. They were also tasked with using these 4 loadouts of known badly balanced weapons and gear for another 1k. And a few YouTubers did do this challenge, and the Arrowhead CEO also played and talked with the community about things like cooldowns feeling iffy, but he was dunked on a little for needing to ask where certain unlocks were in the Warbonds, and for not apparently using the admin controls to unlock everything for himself. And then, after 3 days, the toxicity of the community came through, and the original challenger said he was being threatened and doxxed, and within 7 days he had lost his job at a horse sanctuary he'd been at for 15 years, and his main job for 7 years because of these doxings. The majority of the Helldivers subreddits are still in lockdown, so my kind of big concern is whether having this crossover will bring some of that toxicity to the Warhammer IP and maybe overflow into things like Space Marine 2.
I'm not sure. I know a good number of people who play, Space Marine 2, Dark Tide, and Helldivers 2. It's just another game in their rotation of games that they go through in their library. And most of them are just, normal people doing normal everyday things. But I haven't heard of this level of drama. We haven't had a doxing incident in the Space Marine 2 or Dark Tide community. Sure, there's drama, right? There's always something going on. More recently with, let's say, Dark Tide. Not really drama, but the old community manager left, and so we're just kind of going through a little bit of a change in management and how we communicate with Fat Shark and all that stuff. But that's not really drama. And then with Space Marine 2, you might have content creator drama, but you have content creator drama in every space. People just beefing on one another, possibly people envious of other people's success, etc., etc. But nothing crazy revealing someone's identity, getting them fired from their job, all that crazy stuff that's happening in the Helldivers community. It kind of reminds me a little bit of some of the old MMORPG dramas that used to happen for World of Warcraft, or with things like Destiny, where like people would literally get swatted. Like, thankfully, we haven't seen any of that with Helldivers, but when it comes to this kind of drama, usually it will evolve and escalate. So I don't want to say it's only a matter of time, but it is something that needs to be quashed.
Yeah, and like, we have the same kind of bugs in Space Marine 2, but I think the main difference, even with like Darktide and Space Marine 2, is the Space Marine 2 devs are very like forward about knowing that these bugs exist and like pushing out hotfixes, taking in the community feedback, and just like acting on things very fast. They are still adding new content like cosmetics with like season passes and free content, but they are very much active in fixing the bugs at the back. So yeah, it's very drama-free compared. There's also this like casualness of Space Marine 2, again, like compared to Darktide, compared to Helldivers. Like, do you think the kind of person playing Helldivers will see this and like go check out Space Marine 2 or Darktide, and then we'll end up with drama over, say, the parry bug that's never been fixed in the 2 years, and it will just escalate to the level of drama that we had in Helldivers early this year?
I don't think so. I think that when it comes to a lot of people that kind of get into the headspace of taking these kinds of things, extremely seriously, like let's just like say the balance of the game, for example. And I'm going to use Darktide as the perfect example here, which is also a Swedish studio that's literally right next to Arrowhead. Like, these guys have lunch with each other on a daily basis. There have been bugs in Darktide that have been in the game since release, and the developers know about it. The developers talk to the community about them, and basically how like it's just hard to fix those bugs, and they're always trying to work on a solution, but they'll fix them and then they'll break them in the next patch whenever they release something else, and then they have to go back to the drawing board. Like, dude, like these players who are so invested in a product to where they will make a crazy big deal about this kind of drama, to the extent that they will dox someone. They're one game Andes. They're people that I like to call one game Andes. They only play one video game. Like, these are not the kinds of people who are sampling or have like a library of video games that they play through. Like, that game is basically their life. And granted, for Helldivers 2, I know that you have to spend hundreds or thousands of hours on the game to get good and to be able to do a lot of the more fun things that the game has to offer. But there are definitely people that take the game way too seriously, and in like games like Space Marine 2 and in Darktide, those people exist, but it is a vast minority. And I don't think there's going to be any sort of spillover from the Helldivers community into the Space Marine 2 community or the Darktide community. Partially because, and this is kind of a weird layer of protection, for the Darktide community. If you're running with the big dogs, if you're breaching the top 1% of content and running Havoc 40 like every day, if you're not showing up and if you're not good, you're gonna get bullied out of that community really quickly, because you actually have to talk to people. It's not like Helldivers 2, perhaps, where you just matchmake. You actually have to talk to people and group with people. And when it comes to Space Marine 2, a lot of your success is intrinsic. So you watch someone like First Tor Guardsman play, a lot of his content is like true solo, absolute, pushing siege mode as high as he possibly can, etc., etc. So it's not something that is like something you can go to the community and be like, I don't want to say like bitch about, but the like talk to the community or discuss this stuff with the community. It's all intrinsic. It's all different. But it's so different that I don't think we'll see any spillover from Helldivers. And I know I'm rambling at this point, but yeah, I don't think so.
Maybe not with Space Marine 2, but Darktide is fairly similar as well in a couple of ways, because they are both Swedish dev companies, and they seem to have the same kind of work ethic and like approach to adding cosmetics and microtransactions instead of actually fixing the game. Where Focus Saber, which is French dev company, as much as I'm genetically inclined to hate the French being a Brit, they actually do very well. They listen very well. They do a lot of these fixes, like we said. So I don't know. Maybe Darktide will get the Helldivers, and we'll be safe over in Space Marine 2 and remain drama free.
Oh, maybe. I feel like it's kind of par for the course in Darktide, or everybody kind of thinks that they're better than everyone else. Just a bunch of like elitist thinking drama, but it's again, it's really nothing in the grand scheme of things. And when it comes to both Fat Shark and Arrowhead being Swedish companies, you know, they have the same work ethic in that they're taking at least 2 months off every year. Basically, the whole studio is like going off and going on vacation. I think this is usually around like January, and then again in July or August timeframe. So they have very, very generous amounts of vacation, and the like Swedish law supports that and everything, which is really cool, really good for them. I think that what a lot of the Helldivers community is experiencing is something that we in the, you know, the old Vermintide 2 and now Darktide community have already come to accept with Fat Shark, which is that they're going to have a very slow pace when it comes to fixing bugs, adding new content. Like we now just expect a content flow for Darktide where we're only going to be getting things maybe once every quarter, and then significant things like maybe 2 times a year. We're not really anticipating this crazy amped up live service, even if Darktide is making the money, because they are. They would not have a microtransactions shop if they weren't making money. But even so, the pacing of content releases is very slow. I don't think Vermintide 2 has received a significant update in probably like a year now, maybe a year and a half. Either way, they had a balance update, a weapon balance update, literally like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. But it hasn't had a significant content drop in a while. Nothing that actually dramatically changes the formula of how the game is played. For example, with Darktide, you're getting new classes. That is a huge game changer for tons of players. You haven't received like a new career, new character, new weapons in Vermintide 2 for quite some time.
I will say, just on the point of the Swedish, like 2 months off a year, Focus Saber are French. They take the entirety of August off. I feel like Darktide and Helldivers dev teams don't really have that excuse, because Saber Focus does the same thing.
Hey, you can get a lot done in a month. Like that's 1/12 of the year. It is significant. But you're right though. It's really how the games are built from the ground up. For Space Marine 2, it seems much easier to add content for, because you really only need to focus on adding new classes, which translates to, you know, getting voice actors for the new character, new executions, all the animation work, all that stuff. But for the most part, a lot of the classes that we have utilize a lot of the same weapons or similar weapons, and so you could just focus on making new heroic weapons that do subtly different things compared to their normal relic weapon counterparts, and then boom, you've got new content. So they could keep pushing out, you know, 3 to 6 heroic weapons plus a new map plus new enemies, and then plus new classes, and the community will be happy forever. But that is also unique to not just the game, but the Warhammer 40k community just wants to see these minis that they play with on the tabletop come to life in a video game. That is the thing that makes us the most happy consumers ever. And we're seeing this with Darktide, where they're bringing Skitarii into the game as a class. And this is going to be the first time in Warhammer 40k gaming history where people are able to play as an AdMech in first person, Jesus. So it's a pretty big deal for a lot of people. And because Helldivers is not really a long-standing franchise like Warhammer 40k is, it doesn't really have that like brand loyalty that a lot of 40k fans have. Like, a lot of people who have never played Darktide ever, but who are AdMech fans, will pick up Darktide just so they can play Skitarii. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. Alright, well, thank you for coming to talk to me, Jeff. It was very nice to hear your thoughts. If any of you watching have anything to add to this, please let us know in the comments. As always, go follow Jeff over on his channel on Jefficus, and if you're interested in other Warhammer games like Mechanicus 2, Painting, Space Marine 2, or Total War 40k, subscribe or consider becoming a channel member, or come check out my lives here and on Twitch, and Jeff also streams both on YouTube and Twitch. My Discord is almost at full Legion strength, so join, and then we can have a successor chapter. All the links are in the description below, and TYTY for watching, and see ya.